I wonder if you can recall the very first piece of leadership advice that you ever received. I can, as if it were yesterday. It was on a damp morning in March, just a month before my 15th birthday. I'd walked the regular 1-mile route to school along the narrow footpaths and muddy grass verges. On this particular day though, my trousers and shirt were immaculately ironed. My blazer had been defluffed with sticky tape and I was wearing trainers so as not to get my perfectly polished shoes muddy. All because today was the day I was being interviewed by a major from the Army officer recruiting team. As well as interviewing me, his job was to brief and prepare me for the 2-day selection weekend I was to attend in Westbury, Wiltshire in a few weeks. Quite how the Army were able to spot leadership potential in 15-year-old boys and girls still amazes me, but that's for another video perhaps. During the briefing, the Major explained to me that I would be completing a series of leader-led and leader-less tasks over the 2 days, in which our every movement and word would be assessed. He explained how at some stage I would be the designated leader for a particular task. I would receive my briefing and then have 5 minutes of planning time before having to brief my team and lead them to complete the task. It was at this point that he shared some advice with me. And to this day, that advice remains one of the most powerful lessons I've ever learned in leadership. Here's what he said. Ben, always remember that just because you are the leader for that particular task, it doesn't mean that you need to come up with all of the answers. If after you've been given your briefing, if you're unsure of how to tackle the task, you should brief your team and then ask them for their ideas. From here, you can select or develop a plan and then lead the team to execute it. Because Ben, that's what it means to be a leader. I remember that advice as if it were yesterday. It's possibly the best leadership advice I've ever received, and I'm so grateful I heard it when I was just 14 years old. Leaders believing they need to have all of the answers is one of the biggest things that prevents leaders, teams, and entire organizations from unlocking their true potential. But it can be a hard lesson to learn or a hard belief to let go of. In the early part of our careers, we are rewarded and promoted based upon what we know, the ideas we generate, and what we deliver ourselves. But as we progress into more senior leadership roles, especially when we're responsible for leading other leaders, what was once a strength can start to work against us. But don't just take this from me. One of the most common things I've heard from the MDs and CEOs I've interviewed for my podcast is that their leadership impact grew significantly when they let go of trying to have all of the answers. Many leaders have a false and limiting belief that asking for help or saying you're not sure of the best course of action is a sign of weakness. It's not. The truth is that it demonstrates real strength of character and shows those that you lead that you truly value their input. Hold fast, folks, and lead on.